Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Null DNB. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm going to be showing a tutorial on how I get my mixes ready for live mixing on XDJs and CDJs. First, I'll show an example of why it's important and why it's useful for me to keep my mixes as seamless as they can be. I still mess up every now and then, of course, but it's always fun to have a seamless mix where people don't even recognize it's transitioning and it's just blending perfectly. So I try to do that as much as possible. It's the kind of DJ I am. So this is how I do that. And this does work with multiple genres. It's not just drum and bass. Most EDM, mainly EDM, because EDM is repetitive enough and has the looping ability compared to most other genres. So this is an example of why it sounds good, how it sounds good. So I've got a song going. It's about to enter a break, and then it'll enter a drum pattern toward the end, but there won't be any vocals, so I'll be able to bring in the next song. Now, if you look at the cue points, I'm going to explain this more later. Every cue point is evenly spaced. There's an entire phrase between each cue point. A phrase is 64 beats, so that's how I'm going to match the left to the right. So I'm going to start here. So we've got this going, and now I have a 32 beat loop on the right that I could start moving so I could beat match. So I'm gonna start beat matching. Gonna get it prepared for when the next cue point comes in. Gonna bring it in now. It's already beat matched because I beat matched it while it was looping. If you count the phrases that are coming up and the even spaces, you got two more phrases coming up, and those are just a drum pattern. So listen to how easily it blends. I have not done anything to the EQ. It is just going full at 12 o'clock on both sides right now. I could bring the bass down a little bit for the kick bass that's blending, but you don't have to in this case. Now those vocals are from the second song because I know that the first vocals are about to end. That's one thing that library knowledge itself will come in useful for, but it's easy to see sometimes visually with these colors. And the colors I'll get back into later too. Bringing the bass back in. Here's the drop. Right when the cue point was. And now the second song is going, the first song is ending, and that was pretty much a perfect blend. So now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Rekordbox. So with Rekordbox, I use a program called Lexicon to make my beat grids, but since most people watching this are trying to work on Rekordbox, I'll just stick to Rekordbox for now. As far as Rekordbox is concerned, I'll show you a new song that I have not set up yet. So we see that the beat is actually going to start right here on this first point, or will it? Let's start the song and see. All right, so we're going to adjust this a little bit. Sounds like it really starts right there, but if we move it up to here, how does it sound? Sounds like it misses just a little bit, but the best way to really determine where to start it. So I'm going to set a hot cue here on what I think is the first beat so far. And then you're going to beat jump by phrase. So each phrase is 64 beats. So I'm going to jump one phrase. Okay, so that seems to be where the second beat starts. So I'm going to set another hot cue here. And then I'll beat jump one more time, and this is what will really tell me where the phrase begins on the drop. So you see the drop starts to really be filled in right here, and then it, continues on with the bass. So I'll set my next cue point here. And then just to make sure, I'll play this. Sounds perfect with the kick beginning on the cue. Same with this one. Same with this one. So what I'll do now, I'll go back to that first cue point. Actually, I have it on the cue. All right, so now that I have this chosen and sitting on the middle, I'm going to go ahead and click on this little display button right here, and you're going to look for make an adjustment from the current position, and you're going to click on that, and that adjusts the beat grid to start where your first cue point is. What that does is it allows you to visually match the beats when you're looking at a CDJ and using more than one. Well, you have to use more than one for the most part, but XDJs and CDJs, their beat grids will be matched with the beats when you have the beat grid beginning on the first beat. And then if you look through here, you've got my beginning phrase, the second phrase before the drop. So now I can continue beat jumping 64 beats. This is the meat of the song, so you really kind of want to keep that the way it is and then wait for the phrase before the next break. I'll set a hot cue here, and then I'll jump one more phrase. That's the beginning of the break. Got another hot cue, so that way I can just keep count of the separation of how long it'll take until the next cue point, until the next phrase. It's a lot easier to figure out the rest of the song that way when you know the structure. So I've got another hot cue on the second drop. Literally perfect. You can go on and make another one at the end of the song if you want to, depending on the type of song. Like this has a separate break at the end here. If you hot cue this, you might be able to use that to then bring the song back in at the beginning. All sorts of things you can do once you have a song set up and prepared the way you want it. Now, in the preferences for Rekordbox, you'll see an option here under View, and this will let you change what the waveforms look like. What I do is I go to Color and I go to RGB, and that's what gives me the ability to see like what's a kick drum, what's a bass, what's going to sound a certain way or not. So you can see these colors here. If you look down at your library, there's different colors for different songs, and that'll actually show you what the mood of the song will be, what the subgenre will be pretty much. See, it's very 808-ish. And then over here you got more of a jungle theme. It's just a brighter sound, not as deep. And then for something like, let's see, we'll go with some dance floor. It's got more of a yellow look to it. So when you're doing a live, what I do when I'm live mixing is if I am not entirely sure what song to play next and I want to keep a certain vibe, I'll kind of scroll through them and just pull them into the deck until I find similar colors, and then that way it'll keep the same vibe going unless I want to make it heavier or lighter. That's just something easy to do. Makes it a little easier. See, this has like a more purple vibe. It's way brighter. So that's another thing I do just to prepare and know what to do next. And always keep in mind that if you sort by key, whatever is green will be compatible with the key that you're using currently. So this will all be current with the song playing at the moment. And then another thing that I do for setup to make sure that I can see those colors as they are on the XDJ and CDJ, and this is for CDJ Nexus 2 and above. The Nexus 1, I believe, stays on blue, but if you click RGB right here, then that'll make it reflect these colors on the XDJ and CDJ, so it's much easier. And I also do full waveform. The key display is up to you, and I have it start at the center or left. That really doesn't matter. So then I go into the categories, set up just what I need, which is like the key, artist, album, and then that way I know what I'm choosing. Same thing with the sort, just the keys, the BPMs. And another thing that a lot of people probably don't know about is specifically for D&B, when you are analyzing, you want to keep everything at 174 because that's the real BPM. So what I do is I'll analyze a track, and when I click on BPM here, I'll actually make it above 87, so that way it's not accidentally making a song 87 BPM, because then if you're out live, it's just annoying to have to calculate sometimes on the fly. And then if you are somebody that uses a sync button, it'll really mess you up unless you have the half speed option turned on the device. So that is pretty much all the advice that I have. Set up your playlist by genre if you can, or subgenre. I'll set up at least over 100 songs per hour. At least 100 songs per hour for a playlist, and I give myself room to change up the vibe. So I don't put everything exactly the same vibe. I'll put some higher energy stuff, some lower energy stuff, just to follow the vibe of the dance floor as I'm looking up while mixing, just to make sure that everybody is happy, because there are times where I've sat there playing like liquid funk and everybody's chilling and dancing, and then I switch over to like some heavier dance floor and people literally started just like not dancing anymore, and they were just kind of looking around chatting and stuff, and then I went back to liquid funk and everyone started dancing again. So there's things like that you can really keep an eye on and adjust on the fly, and it's just easier. It's just easier to do when you have it prepared this way. And that is how I prepare it, just to make it easier for me. I am a newer DJ. I've only been DJing since August 2022. I've always been a freestyle DJ. I don't really like plan my sets out song by song or anything of that sort. So if you have any other questions about how I set up my stuff, I do have a program called Lexicon DJ. It sorts your files for you. So if you have a lot of your music in one folder, it'll put them into separate folders, sorted however you want it. It also does analysis, and it will let you move information from one program to another. And I find that very useful. This is just how to set up Rekordbox. So if you want to see how I use that program, it is $17 a month for the program. I find it worth it because of how much I set up music. I still spend hours on music, but I find that the time that I spend is actually cut in half because of that program, because it finds a lot of necessary information for you and keeps everything sorted for you, so you don't have to worry so much. I definitely am very obsessed with keeping everything by the line and making sure it's all proper information and stuff like that. So the program helps with that. But if you do want to see anything else, just let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, drop a like, drop a subscribe. I will be dropping some more DJ mixes on my channel. And if you want to see more tutorials like this, just let me know. Thank you. Follow me on Instagram and at NoelDNB. I'm also on SoundCloud at NoelDNB. So if you need anything else, let me know. Have a great day. Stay safe.